All right, folks, as promised, here's the special edition of On the Cushion. I really hope you guys enjoy this. We're going to concentrate on some grassroots racing issues today and the state of racing today. And I have an awesome panel with us today. I have Emily Gotti, Josh Bolden, RJ Cunningham, Brad Heron, and Philip Matthew sitting in on this roundtable discussion today. And first of all, I guess we're going to introduce you to the panel. Miss Emily, you want to tell the folks out there who you are and what you're about?
Well, my name is Emily Gotti. Of course, I race a dirt street stock at Davenport Speedway, Quad City Speedway. Been racing for 6 years, been around racing my whole life. So I think I know a thing or two about racing. I guess we'll find out.
All right. Mr. Josh Bolden, you want to like you need any introduction, Googs, but you want to tell people out there who you are and what you're all about since we've been off the air for so long.
Well, I'm Josh Bolden. I'm a big fan of racing. Been following it since I was about 3 or 4 years old. And just love to learn about its history and talk about it.
We're going to talk about it today, aren't we, buddy?
Yep.
All right. And our next guest, and I'm totally excited to have this guy on with us today, and we have Mr. RJ Cunningham. RJ, you want to tell the folks out there who you are and what you're about?
Well, I own TracksideReviewMagazine.com. I plan on bringing back a print and CD version of the magazine in the spring. I have been on the radio before with a Trackside Review version back in '06. Radio station bought, sold, all that stuff, so that's why I'm not there now. Look for money for racing and have for a number of years, and that's why I started Trackside Review in the first place. We'll get into that later.
Oh, yeah, we definitely will. We look forward to working with Trackside Review and On the Cushion Media Group and conglomerating on some things as we talk today. But we'll get into that further later on down the road. Our next guest is no stranger to OTC either, and we have Mr. Brad Heron on with us also. Brad, what are you doing out there tonight? Who are you and where are you at, man?
Oh, we're just hanging out up the cold white north up in Ontario. Yeah, just hanging out. I've been racing street stocks at Ashwegan Speedway for about 10 years now. Yeah, just love everything about dirt racing, and I have been accused of being somewhat opinionated, so this should be interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
I don't think there's any of us on this panel that hasn't been accused of that at one point or another, Brad. All right, and that leads us to the last guest on the panel, and that's Mr. Philip Matthew. Philip, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right, Dan. Thanks for having me on. I'm been a fan of motorsports since I was 6, so that's 21 years, and I've been on NBS and all these other pages on Facebook, and I've not been afraid to voice my opinions, and Dan knows this, and JB knows this, and just glad to be on here with everybody, and looking forward to it.
I appreciate you being here, Philip, and I appreciate everything you do for On the Cushion. And you mentioned somewhere out there, people, if you want to hear some truth and a lot of trash talk, but some truth, head on over to the MBS Racing blog on Facebook. And if you're easily offended, I wouldn't go there. But if you want to have some fun and learn some things, head on over there. It's an awesome place to be. All right, with that, you guys ready to get started on this? I'm going to slam you guys with about 7 questions here, and we're going to get through them as quick as we can. As I explained to you earlier, we're going to be a little more formal than what we normally are here on the Cushion, and give you guys 2 minutes each to respond to these questions, and then we'll have a 1 minute rebuttal to follow that up. And before we started recording, we decided Miss Emily would lead us off tonight and start first with a first answer. So with that, are you guys ready to go?
Yep.
Let's do this.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Miss Emily and the rest of the panel, here's the first question. What are the best things about grassroots racing today?
I would have to say one thing is the sense of family. If anybody needs any help or if anybody has any issues or anything, whether we like each other all the time or not, we can always come together in a time of need and help each other out. And I think that's awesome. Some of my best friends are people that I've met through racing, and I don't know what I would do without some of them. yeah, I really like the fact that we can all come together and help each other out if we need to, and at the same time we can hate each other and have a good time doing it.
Always seems to be that way, doesn't it, Emily?
Yeah.
All right, Josh, you're next up in line. Same question. What are the best things about grassroots racing for you today?
One of the things I think is the best about grassroots racing is how hard these guys work. I mean, a lot of these guys, they aren't racing full time. They're pulling a 40-hour or 60-hour work week. Then every night when they get home, they're working on their race cars until about midnight or 1 in the morning, if not longer. And then doing the same thing over and over until it's time to race.
They do break their backs and bust their ass to get things done. That's for sure. I don't think people quite know the work that goes into it. Good answer, Josh. RJ, that brings you up next. What are the best things about grassroots racing today?
What to me grassroots racing is people that are having to work for a living, and on the weekends, and coming to the end of a work week, it gives them something to look forward to, both on the fan side and the driver side, to get them a little bit of a break from the realities of life. And the amount of dollars that is spent, and you and I have discussed this, the amount of dollars that are spent to increase the money flow in the United States is just unbelievable. In Canada and Mexico and you name it. I think racing is just so good for the world and dollars in general.
I agree with that, RJ. And yes, we have discussed that at length, and we're going to get more into that either today or the next go around. Mr. Brad, brings you up, buddy, up there in Canada, man. So you're kind of removed from some of the issues that's been brought up so far that RJ brought up to a certain degree. But same question to you. What are the best things about grassroots racing today?
I mean, I kind of agree with what Emily said. I mean, it's just the entire sense of camaraderie and the bonds and the ties that you make. I mean, like for me, 100%, it's a total family commitment. I mean, I got a wife and 2 little girls, and I don't get any flack when it's I'm going to work on the car if we had a bad night, and I'm going to be working on the car after work till midnight, like we've said. And again, the friendship and the ties that you make in the pits. You don't have to necessarily like everybody, but if the guy that's pitted next to me broke a tie rod end in heat race and I have one, I'm going to give it to him because I still want to beat him out on the track. I mean, we're still friends, but I'd rather beat him on the track than have him miss the race, and I beat him by default, if that makes sense.
I totally agree with that, Brad.
But yeah, it's just I don't know. I just like racers in general are just, I don't know, I think they're a fairly tight-knit community. And I just think that's something that you just establish, and it's awesome. I love it.
I agree. Mr. Phillip, leaves you up. Man, I know you got an opinion on this. You've been paying attention to a lot of different forms of racing than the rest of our panel does. But same question to you, Phillip. What are the best things about grassroots racing today?
As everyone else was speaking, I was making sure I took some notes, and it worked out that some of the bullet points that I had were things that everyone else mentioned. Emily and Brad mentioned the family aspect, and JD mentioned the hunger, the drive for people who just do it on the weekends, and the escape. RJ mentioned that. I also mentioned cost and quality. The cost of taking a family to go watch a race has become so prohibitive outside of the grassroots level that it's something that you can take your family and you can enjoy it, and it's something to hook a young kid in. And the quality, you see these people who are just, they're not going for NASCAR, they're not trying to go to the big leagues, but the passion for it, it's a way to get new fans in and get people to love the sport in the smallest level, and then they're going to develop that fan, connection first at the grassroots level, and then follow it up later on. And that's really what I think the good things are about grassroots racing today.
That I agree with that. It is a very affordable thing for families to do. Going back on that same question, Emily, you've heard some of the other responses there. Do you have any sort of other thoughts that may have come about listening to those responses on the same question?
Well, I mean, I agree with everything everybody said. It's an all-around good thing for everybody, for everything. I haven't met too many racers that aren't good-hearted people, and I don't know about you, but those are the kind of people I like to be around. So it's a good sport.
I agree. I agree with that, and that is the people that I want to be around. Josh, how about you? Any closing thoughts on this question?
I'm pretty much in agreement with everybody else on this too. I mean, we all pretty much agree that it's good, just as long as everybody stays family about it and tries to keep everything going.
Okay, RJ, how about you? Any closing thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are that it's just so funny that you mentioned that it's so cost prohibitive to go to a NASCAR event or some of the bigger events. I myself went to all the big events long before I went to the grassroots events, and when I discovered the grassroots events, I thought, what is going on? Nobody knows about this stuff. I'm talking to a guy that spent $2,000 a year going to the Indy 500. I haven't missed an Indy 500 since 1969, and I'm trying to spread the word about all the other stuff. So, it to me is just mind-boggling when you see the action that's at the short track level.
I agree with that, and we're going to touch on exactly a point that you just brought up, RJ, in an upcoming question here. Brad, any closing thoughts on the question that has been posed?
No, not really. One thing that I kind of wanted to add, when people, you tell people that you race cars, they automatically have this misconception that, it's dangerous and it's this or it's that. Well, I mean, honestly, I feel more safe out on a racetrack than I do driving down the highway, because I know that for the most part, nobody's going to make a bonehead move. And I wouldn't think twice about, just having two little girls. I would not think twice about when they're older sticking them in a car, and I really get sideways glances about that. But it's just another way to strengthen that family bond, and you just spend time with your kids, and you just strengthen that, and that's super important to me, I think.
I agree with you, Brad. I think there is a definite difference between those who have experienced it, who have racing running through their blood, and those that don't quite understand what a racer is. But you touched on another topic we're going to get into. Philip, any closing thoughts on this?
Well, just the fact that the grassroots level is something that Dr. Dick Berggren brings up a lot, and he retired from his main job to go back to what his true passion is. That's the grassroots level is something that needs to be pushed more. And with all the media and all this stuff, we've gotten away from what built the sport, which is in a lot of ways the grassroots level. All these drivers that we see, there should be more media coverage, and there should be more focus on that, because that's where all these big stars really came from.
Man, we're all of the same mind. This is going to be a good conversation. Philip, you hit on another subject that we're going to talk about this evening. All right, we're going to move on to question 2 now. And first of all, I want to say that very good responses. I didn't find anything I disagreed with in any of your responses at all. Very, very happy to hear that. Question 2, Josh, you're going to be first up. RJ, on down the line as we've been going. Emily, you'll be last on this one. Question number 2, Josh. What are some of the best experiences you've had at the grassroots racing level?
Well, one of the best experiences I've ever had was first time I'd ever gone to Winchester Speedway here in Indiana. I mean, I was expecting not much considering the amount of cars they had, but those guys were putting on some of the most competitive racing I've ever seen. So I guess that's just one of the best experiences I've had.
I am so happy to be a part of that memory for you, Josh. A very small part of that memory, but I'm so happy that On the Cushion and myself have been able for you to have that experience. RJ, we're going to move on to you. Question number 2. What are some of the best experiences you've had at the grassroots racing level?
Well, there's so many, but, I kind of became a crew member and a teammate to like a guy that's like a brother of mine. Going down to Florida and having a sudden quick time with him, and then having something break on the car, and then telling everybody we were done, and then getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, driving over to Jacksonville, Florida, fixing the motor with about 40 people watching us tear the top end of the motor off and put it back together, and came back and just went over to Lakeland and cleaned the clock of everybody there and took the whole thing, the fast time, the entire purse, and that was cool. That was cool.
Those are good nights, aren't they, RJ?
Oh, yeah, they are. Unfortunately, there's many, many more of those. work on a team before you get to that point, but it gave me even more passion to follow the sport after what we went through that night. I bet we slept only about 3.5 hours that night at the motel before we decided to drive to Jacksonville. And we were the first person in line to get the parts for the motor, and that was cool. That was really cool.
It reminds me of a saying, it's more about the trip than the destination. Brad, moving on to you, question number 2. What are some of the best experiences you've had at the grassroots racing level?
I mean, you can never forget your first feature win, and until you get that first win, you just think, man, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen, and all of a sudden you get it, and the rest of them just seem to fall into place. It's like, okay, I won one, and then I won the next 2. So I mean, your first feature definitely stands out in your mind. I mean, I don't know. I'm huge into the family thing, and like I said, my dad and my brother, they're all part of my team, and I don't know. I just think it's super cool to watch them. They're more excited after a win than me, really. I mean, they're running as fast as they can across the track to get over into victory lane, and I never get tired of seeing that. I don't know. It's just super cool.
I agree with that. After you guys know my history and setting out for so long, and getting back in the car in 2011, I could not get that first feature win under my belt fast enough for my wife to be able to see and to experience. And she heard all the talk, but she finally got to experience it. That was one of my highlights. Philip, I'm going to ask you the same question. What are some of the best experiences you've had at the grassroots racing level?
Well, unfortunately for me, where I live, in Jersey, it's kind of hard to get to some of the short tracks. It's just my respect for the drivers and what I've seen over my time. But there's 2 things that came up. When I was in school for auto tech, I went to a sport compact drag race at Englishtown, and the connection that I was able to make, I was in the pits with the drivers, Lisa Kubo and the former funny car driver Jim Epler. He was running the team, and that was a smaller level because it wasn't a big series at that point, and it didn't stay. And then the other thing was, this happened this year when I was working my writing job. There was a NASCAR day at the stadium, and talking to some of the guys that are driving wing sprinters, 360 sprints, and dirt modifieds, and just seeing those cars and talking to them, and that was awesome because it was like a kid in a candy store. I didn't even care that there was a baseball game that was going to happen, and that was my main job. I was just so happy to be around those cars and those drivers. Those are the 2 that really come to my mind.
Does something to you, doesn't it, Philip?
Yeah.
Emily, moving on to you. Question number 2, what are some of the best experiences you've had at the grassroots racing level?
I would have to say of course, your wins are a big part of that, but also watching somebody else that you've kind of helped be successful. And I can't remember who said it, but busting your butt to get your car ready, staying up till 3, 4 in the morning working on something just so you can go racing the next day. It sucks at the time, but looking back on it, it's something to be proud of, and it makes you feel good about yourself that you're so dedicated to something like this. And not many people can say that they have something that they're so dedicated and disciplined to do. And I think that makes some of the best memories and some of the best times.
That's a good message you just had there, Emily. When you work so hard for something and finally get some gratification out of it, it's really something, that's for sure. Hey, 3, 2, we got to cut for a minute. We've lost I got to try to get back here somehow. So hold your thoughts on the rebuttals, and let me add him back in here.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic message system.
All right, those are some pretty good answers there, guys. Now we're going to get into some things that's really going to, I hope, pick your brains and really get into some issues that we have at the grassroots level. And with that being said, question number 3, RJ, I got a question for you and the rest of the group as well, but here it is. What are some of the issues facing grassroots racers today?
To me, the issue is they don't spread the word enough about themselves. I don't know whether they don't have the budget, or they just feel it's not necessary and they only feel like they're a local crowd. But in my opinion, the truth of the matter is, when you have $1 million worth of equipment coming in their speedway, those people deserve the word spread, and that's just the way I feel. That's why I want all of it on the website. Yeah, I do like the RSS feeds for the NHRA and NASCAR and IndyCar series, but truthfully, the magazine is about everything below that level. That's just my opinion.
I'm going to expand on that, RJ. I'm going to move on. Brad, same question to you. What are some of the issues facing grassroots racers today?
I mean, a couple things come to mind immediately. I mean, cost is always a factor. We're trying to, nobody's making a living doing this. So, anytime burns me is, from a driver standpoint anyway, the rules meeting at the start of the year, before the year starts, they say, okay, well, a few rule changes to try and keep the cost in check. But anytime they make a rule change, it ends up costing you money because you have to change your car. It doesn't matter particularly what it is. And the other thing that comes to mind more on a technical standpoint is, I don't know what the other tracks are like, but just the need for a good sound technical crew who are going to check the cars, keep everybody on the level, to keep the price in check. Because if you just sort of let everybody do their own thing and you're not policing anything, then you may not throw the rule book in the fire and just run what you brung.
Brad, once again, man, this is going to be a good rebuttal session. Philip, I'm going to ask you the same question. What are some of the issues facing grassroots racers today?
Well, I think it's a lot of what Dick Berggren has said, promote, and what has already been said during this question. The promotion, the purses, making sure you take care of the people that come into the racetrack, and if they're actually putting on the show, they deserve their fair share, and whether they're getting the money or just not getting enough, the purses and the rules and having rules changes, because the people who are taking the biggest risk, I mean, yes, the hosts, the people, the tracks are doing the promotion, but the drivers, the people who are coming, they're taking the risk out there on the racetrack. So you want to make sure that the drivers and family and they're taken care of, and you make sure that people are coming out and supporting it. And I think promotion is the one thing that, of course, with my experience, where I could say could be changed and could be worked on greatly to promote grassroots racing.
We're on the same, yes. Emily, moving on to you, same question to you. What are some of the issues facing grassroots racers today?
Well, my opinions are somewhat the same. There's definitely rules that are getting broken and out of hand, and tech guys, tech teams, I know they're doing their best, but it's kind of a two-edged knife, I guess you would say. They want to police the cars better, so in return, more people will, it keeps the cost down. It does. I mean, if somebody buys whatever for whatever amount of money, it makes them go faster. Everybody else eventually has to do the same because they want to keep up. Rules get out of hand, but at the same time, the tech guys don't want to make anyone mad and make them go away and go race at a different track. So maybe sometimes they keep their mouth shut about some things. I don't know. It's kind of a difficult situation. I'm glad I'm not a tech guy. I can tell you that right now.
I see both sides of your point there, Emily, and we're going to expand on that. Josh, same question to you. What are some of the issues facing grassroots racers today?
Well, two of the main issues I've seen just in my area have been both cost and then also the rules package that drivers handed. I noticed all the time the rules being different. If a driver wants to run multiple tracks, you really can't, because it's going to end up costing him more in the long run to do that. So just basically in agreement with what everybody else has been saying about what's been the issues.
I agree. All right, I'm going to switch this up on a rebuttal. Into that, I want to interject my opinion in on this a little bit, but I want to pose it more as a question to you guys. All of you have touched on basically the same thing, but in a little different style and a few different topics in each. We touched on self-promotion, such as social media, Facebook, Twitter, blah, blah, blah. There's, Pinterest, whatever. There's millions of things out there for people to do. The media, as far as the media promoting, and, we have this, and OTC fell into this rut for a while, to where there's this, I don't know, it's like NASCAR is the 800-pound gorilla in the room. And nobody wants to ignore it for fear of not being taken seriously, because that's what is being promoted as racing today. When you say the word local, it seems to trip people up, as far as, they instantly think what's in their backyard, not what's available in the United States. And I know this is getting way out there for you guys and posing multiple topics into one question, but I really think it's all linked together. The tech issue, I agree. Tracks need to do a better job of having more knowledgeable tech guys at track. I agree, Emily. I would not trade my job as a driver for anything in the world to tech these cars. I really wouldn't. But with that being said, if you're going to put yourself in that position, I really think you need to have knowledgeable people in those positions to make the right call. We've seen time and time again calls not being made. Now, we'll narrow that down a little bit. If there's anything that you guys in there that I said that you want to tackle in this 1-minute rebuttal, feel free. But I'd really like to stay focused on the promotion end of it. And the question is this. A, attack me for anything that I said there, or rebut me. Or B, this is a question I'd really like to ask you. What can we do as fans, drivers, and, for lack of a better term, media at the grassroots level do to promote this sport? RJ, we're going to start with you.
Well, what I'm trying to do is make sure that if a sponsor goes on a race car, that they get exposure nationwide, not just at the local level. And that's why I'm starting RJ's Race Book. Now, you and I discussed...
That is absolutely key, RJ. That is absolutely key. Go ahead.
Bottom line, the racers are running the purses that cannot be adjusted if they don't get exposure in a more nationwide level. So that's what I'm trying to do. When the website's done, I start plugging in sponsors at any track, at any state, at any level. And I want race fans to carpool and go to races, and not just to a local event. Go to a race 2 or 3 states away as a group. I think that's fun. So.
I agree. RJ, we've got so many things to work on. I absolutely can't wait to get started. But moving on, Brad, same basic principles you. Anything that I said, or, the question is what can we do to help promote this sport at the grassroots level, either from the driver's standpoint, media standpoint, or just a fan standpoint?
Well, I mean, I didn't disagree with one thing that you said. As the driver, I mean, I think it's up to you to try and get, people that you work with, your neighbors, just get the word out there. I mean, you don't have to sit there and tell them how great you are and how awesome you are and how you won 3 features in a row, but just get the word, if you race at one track, get that word out there, get that, tell them, this is we race, and drag them along one night, and then tell them, next time you're going to come, bring your brother-in-law or whatever, and just, the more people that you can get involved, the more people you can bring to the track, then it pays a dividend for you too, because you're getting recognized, and so is everybody that is doing the same thing. And that's kind of that, as the driver, that's your responsibility, I think, to try and get more people interested.
I agree with that. Philip, moving on to you. Same set of circumstances.
Well, in terms of promotions, the thing is, you have to know, somehow you have to get the word of mouth so that you get to the racetrack. Unless you live in a rich area of grassroots racing, you kind of need a link, somebody you have to know to get to the track. Because not every grassroots level track is going to have the promotions. You need to get that connection. Once you get that connection, it's easy. It's really, that's where the most difficult part is. And once you get there, then if you get passionate enough, it's really about giving yourself. Everybody here is trying to give themselves in some way, shape, or form, either driving or promoting or whatever. But there need to be more people like us to make the grassroots level more get a greater foothold in media and in general, because media is going to focus on the quote unquote media is going to focus on the easiest thing. They're not going to go and grind, and that's what young guys like JB and I are doing. We're the ones that are working our way up, and that's what we're supposed to do. So, but the people that get paid, that act like they're real writers, they don't want to work that hard. So it's a multi-pronged thing. So it's really finding them younger and building them up so that they want to promote it longer term.
I agree with that. You and I talk about your situation, area you're in, and where you want to be quite often. I know we have those private conversations, and we're going to work on that next spring and summer, buddy. Moving on, Emily, you're next up. Same topics, if you haven't lost track yet.
The biggest issue that I see with promoting and everything is everybody is going to have a bad night at the track. And the first thing they do is they come home and they vent on Facebook or the track's message board or something for everybody to see. And everybody has a bad night, whether it's the driver or the track, the prep wasn't good that night, or somebody had a bad hot dog or something. And I know it's good to voice your opinion and let the track know, why you're upset about something, but if people continue to just lash out about these tracks, people are gonna see it and they're gonna say, oh, well, I'm gonna go to this track because, whatever it was. I heard this track is kind of crappy this year, and I think that, I think my tracks do a great job at social media. They have a text program that lets you know what's going on at the track. They'll text you if races are canceled or whatever. They have message boards, Facebook, whatever, websites. I think that people just need to focus more on the good parts and get over some of the bad things that really don't matter in the end. Just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I can see where you're coming from on that. I really can. We all know that I'm an opinionated person, and I throw some pretty negative stuff out there. Not only about NASCAR, but at the grassroots level too. When I see a perceived wrong, and you just made me think that maybe what I totally understand, and you just affected me a little bit, Emily. So, moving on, Josh, same deal to you, buddy.
Well, I'm pretty much, this is going crazy, but I'm in agreement with everybody on here. We have to do our part to make sure that the grassroots level gets recognized. I mean, most people, when they think of racing, they think IndyCars or NASCAR or one of the higher level divisions, but they don't think grassroots is being as good, if not better sometimes, than what the major products are putting out. So we really got to get the word out about how good these tracks are and how good these races are.
Okay. Now, I guess that led us in. We're really going to just expand here on to question 4. And Brad, you're going to be the first up on this next question. But it's really just an expansion of what we've been talking about here. And the question is this. What can we do to fix some of these issues at grassroots level that we just got done talking about, several different issues here, and we've touched on some of the fixes. But what can we do? What is something that we could get done doing this discussion and go right to work doing? What is something we could do to try to fix these issues that A, don't cost any money, or B, don't cost an arm and a leg or a shit ton of money to do? Brad, you're up.
Well, I mean, I after what Emily said, I completely agree with that. And I'm as guilty as the next guy of it. You come home, some guy, whatever, he door slammed you or whatever, it cost you 2 positions. What do? You go on there, you rant and you rave with the racing or the track prep or the hot dog or whatever the situation is. And it just puts a negative vibe out there. And I really think, and I have been trying to make a concerted effort to, if you're going to put something out there, just that is positive. You don't have to go out there and run your mouth about, this driver or whatever, because this driver may have 5 or 6 of the same friends. So I don't know, I just think like the negative vibe doesn't do anybody any good. it just creates tension. And so I think if you have nothing good to say, don't say anything.
I agree. I agree with that point to a certain degree, but I also agree. I also, in my opinion, think that there's a fine line you walk, pointing out things that are wrong or things that need to be changed versus the positive. There's a real fine line there to walk, but I agree. I cross that line. I think we need to find where that line is in order to keep promoting the sport on a high level. But Philip, we're moving on to you. Same question. What are some of the things that we can do right now that don't cost a shit ton of money to promote the grassroots racing?
As much as anything, it's the getting the word out to come out, and then when they come out, the easiest thing to say, hey, go on Facebook and put a picture up, or go on Twitter and come up with a creative hashtag. Those are two simple things that a lot of people do, and you could get that word out and like, oh, look at this is awesome. You should come next week, or take pictures of cars and say, okay, so and so. Just promoting, just giving the visual is as much as anything, and kind of putting videos out there, using the social media websites and using YouTube and sites like that, and optimizing them either as a driver or as a track in the grassroots level is a way to get people there. Because you get that book, then the media wants to come, then they're going to cover it, and then that'll be the next step. If you don't know, you can't do anything about it. And in terms of the negative,
Gotcha.
It's really a one-to-one thing where you talk to your promoter, to the track owner, and then that, I don't know how, I mean, I'm not familiar by any means, but if that's possible, depending on the track that you guys race at, but posting it on the social media, yeah, your friends are going to see it, and then if there's those connections, it could actually be counterproductive.
I agree with that. Emily, moving on, same question to you. What are some of the things that you think we can do right now to positively promote the sport? Or fix any of the issues that we had talked about. I'm sorry.
Definitely the Facebook and Twitter, YouTube thing. I think that the fans that come to the races every week, they love the interaction. I know Speed Channel, they have the fan voting thing, and the fans definitely love the interaction. They love being able to interact with their favorite drivers. And the more you interact with them, the more fans you gain, and the more people you bring to the track, especially the kids. Maybe start a kids club. A couple of the tracks that I race at do that, and they have a huge outcome with that, and they do great with that. And eventually the kids are going to be the ones that are out there racing, so you have to start them young and just keep the criticism positive and keep it a family-oriented sport.
Gotcha. Josh, you're up, my man.
I'm pretty much on the
deal.
same lines as Emily was talking about. Just increase your interaction with the fans, and that's the only way you're going to improve how to increase word of mouth, is by getting people there, seeing the product, and then realizing that it's a good product to show, and then delivering it to other people.
RJ, I'm gonna kind of change things up with you in particular after we've talked about some things, and I know that you're going to have a little different take on this question about some of the things that we can do to fix some of the issues that we've talked about and promote at the grassroots level. But I want you, if you will, talk about that question in general. But if you can, focus on the splinter media that we have at the grassroots level. And what are some of the things we can do to try to bring some of these different people, such as Trackside Review and OTC? I know we're new in this and we haven't really got going, but how do we get this splintered brought together into one two before, for lack of a better term?
Well, what I'm trying to do is just open the door for all the radio shows to put their stuff on my site, and if they want to go ahead and use my site as a way to spread the word themselves, that's one thing. But I myself would like to see more of the drivers, more press release type things, just like the professional drivers do. Because I'm concerned, if the driver goes out there and buys a car, even a crate late model, with a crate motor, you're talking 10 grand plus your trailer plus everything. That's, many people, that's as much as they make in a year. Travel expenses, that's over 20 grand. Okay, so you want to race for $1,000 to win, or 1,500 or 2,500. But why not be proud of what they do and let people know who they are, where they are, what they do? I get a phone call or an email from NHRA inviting me to a radio media thing today that I need to write an article about, because I like NHRA too, and the amount of time and trouble they went to get to that level to win those national championships. Why not spread the word when they're young and hungry? When I saw Justin Allgaier race at the dirt late model level in Illinois and saw the way he presented himself in the personal public, at the fan level, at that level, I knew that if he got to the big time level, he was going to be something. And I've been very proud to be somebody that watched him race there. We don't have Speed Vision doing things like Thursday Night Thunder here with the midgets and sprints anymore, because they don't want that on TV. They don't want it because, in my opinion, NASCAR wants to control the dollars. IndyCar's the same way. I just think that if the drivers will do a little bit more, just a 3 or 4 paragraph thing with 1 or 2 photos is all it takes. It doesn't take that much.
I totally see where you're coming from. It is hard to gather information at the grassroots level and filter through, thousands and thousands of grassroots racers and try to get the information that you need. Tracks seem to be straightening up a little bit and doing a little more, but I totally understand where you're coming from and what you're getting at. I mean to cut you off, but we need to move on. I'll give you a chance in the rebuttal here to finish up where you're going with that thought. So if you can hold that for me for just a minute. I want to get back to Brad and closing thoughts and a rebuttal to what we've been talking about as it pertains to what we can do to fix some of these issues and promotion issues.
No, I kind of agree with what everybody had to say. I mean, they're all everybody's right. I mean, I think ultimately it's up to you to promote yourself primarily, along with whatever track or tracks that you go to every weekend. I think I just wanted to go back to what I was saying. I didn't want to make it seem like I think everything should be sunshine lollipops, because that's not real. But I just think that you have a specific problem with the track prep was horrible and you broke an axle because of it. I mean, you don't need to go on and rant and rave to the whole entire world about how crappy the track was that night. But if you can, bring it up with the guy, the race director, or somebody who control that, as opposed to just having diarrhea in the mouth and just spewing off to everybody because you were pissed off.
I totally agree with that, and that's what I meant when I said Emily opened my mind. I find myself doing that from time to time, and I can certainly see, as we're discussing here, the damage that it does versus what good you think it's doing.
There's nothing wrong with venting. Don't get me wrong. I mean, sometimes you need to vent. I mean, you can take that in with what on a personal level or on a racer level. I mean, you need to vent. If you don't, it's just going to build up. You're going to explode.
Right. I agree. We're not dealing with a rainbow and unicorn world when it comes to racing. We all know that. So, moving on, Philip. Same deal. Time for your rebuttal. Anything in closing that you want to say pertaining to this question?
I mean, I agree with what everyone is saying. I mean, if it was about the major sports, you've heard me, JD, and I mean, we could go on and start ranting and raving about that and the media coverage of that. But in terms of the grassroots level, it's a work in progress, and it always has been, and it will continue to be. So it will just try to get together and do our part and make it better, and hopefully it'll catch on, at least on our end and what we do. That's what we can control.
That's what makes us do it, isn't it? All right, Emily, your turn. Same with you. You got any closing thoughts or anything you want to add as it pertains to this question?
I mean, not really. I think I got everything covered that I wanted to say about it. I agree. It's not completely up to us, but I mean, a lot of it is promoting yourself and, you know, people read what you write on Facebook, especially if you've got a pretty large fan base that follows you around the back, and you just have to be careful what you say. I mean, you just got to be positive about everything, because your main goal is to draw more people to the track, and that's what you should aim to do with every post you write, and that's about it, I think.
I'm with you. Josh, we're back to you, my man. Any closing
I really
thoughts?
don't have any closing thoughts. I'm pretty much along the same lines as everyone else. Just keep promoting positively instead of negatively.
All right. Hey, you know, everybody out there in YouTube, podcast, Facebook land, I'm just laughing at the picture Josh has on Skype with us tonight. I know everybody's seen it a million times, but every time I look at it, it makes me want to go race. Anyway, RJ, I know I cut you off in your response, and I'm going to give you a little bit of extra time here to expand on where you was at and where you were going with that. So go ahead.
Negativity is kind of funny. A couple of the drivers were mentioning the rants, and I remember one time I was in the pits and I was ranting about a printer, and I get this phone call.
No, not you, RJ.
I get this phone call from the guy that sells trophies to many of the racetracks. And I thought, well, I got me an advertiser that actually called me. I can't believe it. He didn't call me to buy an ad for the magazine. He called me to chew me out for cussing in the pits, and the fact that there were kids in the pits and families in the racetrack. So there are people that think about that stuff a lot more than you think. And, you know, I've really, since I've been involved, I've really watched what I say and do. I had to eat some crow that day, and you know, I took it like a man, you know, but
crow don't taste too good no matter how you cook it.
I ate the crow in a big way.
Right on. All right, RJ. We're going to move on to question number 5 here, and I can see us doing another episode here. I've been taking notes, and we got 15 more shows right here on my notepad. So we're going to move on to question number 5 here, and Philip going to lead us off with this question. Philip, here it is. Question number 5. In your opinion, it's a 2-part question. In your opinion, what is true racing, and does it involve payback as we seen last Sunday in a NASCAR race, or is payback
So in your opinion, what is true racing, and does it involve payback or not?
As we've seen Sunday, is payback? Yeah. First part of the question is, what is true racing, in your opinion? Second part is, does it include
true
what
racing
we've
to
seen
me
Sunday?
Is something that, whether it's dirt or pavement, whether it's drag racing, it's something that there's a passion for it, and that you can see the drivers that have the passion for it. It's not about making money and doing all that, you know, and making a paycheck. It's really about, you know, loving the sport and doing it for the right reasons. That's what true racing is to me. Do I believe that that's the case in the big league level? Depends on the driver. Now, the second part does involve payback. Some people have put on the social media that what Jeff Gordon did was boys have at it. Now, my opinion is, when you're using your car as a weapon, that's not boys have at it. That's just being an idiot. And frankly, it defeats the purpose, because younger people will watch that and say, oh, it's okay. If I get mad at somebody for getting into me and rubbing fenders or rubbing wheels, I could just go turn them in the wall as hard as I possibly can because I got mad. It makes no sense, and it sends a bad message. And the message that NASCAR sent with the double secret probation that they gave Jeff Gordon, really, it's counterintuitive, counterproductive. But I'm going to cut myself off there before I start going into it.
All righty. We'll move on. Emily, you're next up. Same question. In your opinion, what is true racing, and does it involve what we've seen Sunday with Jeff Gordon and Clint Boyer?
True racing is your drive, your commitment, how committed and disciplined, like I said before, how dedicated you are. And I know that most of us are exactly that, and we'll do anything to make ourselves feel like we did the right thing, whatever. I do not believe true racing is going out on the track and crashing your fellow competitors. I believe that if you have an issue, that you need to talk to them in the pits or some other time, face to face. It's not cool to go out there and smash up each other's equipment, especially when there's other people out on the track that might not have anything to do with whatever you're mad about that could be involved. These cars are dangerous enough the way it is. We don't need things, on purpose, people doing things on purpose. I don't know how many people, a lot of people have gotten killed in accidents. So, I just don't believe in going out and doing something. Yeah, we all know how
increasing
to
your
race.
chances for something bad to happen.
And we can race hard, and we know we can pretty much figure out what our limits are, and we just need to be smart about it. And if you're going to be out there and you're going to lose your cool like that, you have issues. I don't want to be on the same track as somebody that's like that. I know we're safe. I know we have all these new inventions and new technology that are out there keeping us safe, but it's still, there's a door that can be open for freak accidents to happen, and I don't want to be on the same track with a bad man.
I got you. All right, Josh, moving on to you. Same question. In your opinion, what is true racing, and does it involve what we've seen last Sunday
having a passion
at Phoenix?
for something that is bigger than you. I've always known racing as something that can humble you pretty quickly, no matter whether you're a driver or a crewman or whatever you do that is involved in racing. And also, as part of the second part of that question, no, I do not think that trying to wreck another driver should be encouraged. The way I don't really see payback as that. Well, if I were a driver, what I would be doing is just trying to beat the guy on the track, not trying to run him into a wall.
Gotcha. RJ, your turn. Same question. In your opinion, what is true racing, and does it involve what we've seen last Sunday?
At least in the local level, does happen. We may not see it unless we're on a crew. We see, drivers will pay back the way they perform nationally televised. What I didn't see in the event was what happened prior to the tagging in that event. And when it comes to grassroots racing, I think what I like to see, yes, it's an outlet for somebody to go to the racetrack and enjoy their weekend and do it for fun and love of racing. But for me, it's always wanting to see that next superstar coming up the ladder. The kind of things that I think attract what I'm doing is trying to find that new Gordon, the new Stewart, the new Dale Earnhardt. There's somebody out there to do that.
Right. Gotcha. Brad, sorry to cut you off there, RJ. We got the rebuttal coming up. Brad, moving on to you. Same question. What's true racing to you, in your opinion, and does it involve what we've seen last Sunday?
It's just a commitment, and it doesn't really matter, if you race dirt, asphalt, ice, snowmobiles, whatever. It's just, it's just something that encompasses you. I know, I'll just use myself as an example. Our race season up here is May to September, and May to September, I am in full-on race mode. And come the end of September, I don't go out of race mode. It changes. Now I'm just reading books and I'm reading tech articles and I'm thinking and everything is just, I don't have an off season, and it's just, I don't know. I think racing is more of an addiction than it is a hobby. And once you've done it, you don't know any different. You'll never go away from it. Do I think what happened last weekend? I don't think you should be able to use your car as a weapon. And I would never do that. It's kind of a one-sided deal for me. I wouldn't use my car as a weapon because I don't want to fix the damage that I do. And it's not fair for my guys to have to crash all weekend because I had a brain fade in the car and I stuffed some guy in the wall, and now both of us have wrecked cars and they have to come up and help me fix. They don't have to, but they would. you know, what happens in the upper, you know, in NASCAR and that, I mean, that's, you know, they have a disposable income. I mean, there's no end to the amount of money that they have. But it still doesn't make it right. But I think at the grassroots level, I mean, have I come in heated off the track before and want to punch somebody's face in? Of course I have. But, you know, that's where...
I think we've all been there, buddy.
Right.
Some of us may have...
I mean, and that's where a good team will, you know, hold you back and calm you down and try and talk a bit of sense. But, you know, it shouldn't be handled on track. I'd rather beat the guy, you know, if he roughed you up or whatever, you know, don't beat him. I mean, that's gonna have a bigger effect on him.
Now, I got you. I'm gonna stop right there, and you're gonna have a chance in the rebuttal session. But you added you actually touched upon the wrinkle I want to add in your rebuttals to that question. Now, I don't want for 1 minute. My opinion is that, you know, rubbing and bumping and maybe moving somebody out of the way, that's all racing to me, and I'm totally fine with that, and I'm totally okay for that. If you're going for the win, and you know something happens, then you know it is what it is. But as far as what we've seen, using your car as a weapon in retaliation, there is no place for it in the sport at all. Period. None whatsoever. I don't care who done it in the past. I don't care who does it in the future. In my opinion, there's no place for it. It's just uncalled for, and it's, for lack of a better term, it's a very, very, very sissy move. Now, in your rebuttals here and closing up on this question, I want to add this new wrinkle. Do you have a problem with rubbing or aggressive racing, but at what point does it cross the line? RJ or Philip, actually, this is your question.
I mean, when I first got into the sport, it was Dale Earnhardt, and Dale Earnhardt had no problem going and putting a bumper to somebody, and he'd use the bumper sometimes a little bit more than he really needed to. But the fact is, that was Dale Earnhardt, and that was racing. And there's movies that talk about shake and bake and rubbing is racing and all that. And if you're gonna take a little air off the spoiler, you're gonna go and do a little door slam kind of thing, and it's in negative intent. You know, there's especially in stock car racing, that's a part of what stock car racing is, a bit of rubbing. But once you go past that level where you insist on using your car or truck, like Carl Edwards did for Brad Keselowski about 5 or 6 times, or Kyle last year with Ron Hornaday, or what Gordon did on Sunday, that crosses a line, a whole different line. I mean, that's not racing. That's not what it's about. If you're going to do that, you have a bigger problem than just driving a race car. You've lost your cool. You have some sort of roid rage going on that needs to be checked out. So I have no problem with rubbing, but wrecking.
Gotcha, Philip. I'm gonna cut you off there, man. Sorry, my man, but we got to keep moving here. Emily, word to you. Rebuttal and the new wrinkle added.
Well, I mean,
what's your opinion on that?
People every week. We know what they can handle. We know what they're gonna do. We know what their moves are. We know all their tricks up their sleeve. You just have to race the people. You can't run. I mean, we all know who the rookies are. We know who the veterans are. If there's a rookie in front of you, I mean, you don't have to bump them, spin them out. I mean, they probably do that enough on their own. I mean, you can go by them without running them. I mean, if you touch a little bit, so be it. I mean, you're racing against some veteran drivers, you can rub a little bit more. I mean, it's all up to you and you to kind of peg everybody. You know what I mean? Yeah, I guess being a girl in this sport too, people stun me a little more sometimes than others, and you just have to have the upper hand, and sometimes you have to let somebody know you're not going to take their crap anymore, not necessarily by taking them out, destroying their car, but just not moving over when they shove their wheel up your door, you know?
You're exactly right. There is ways to enforce payback that don't involve, you know, what we've seen. So I'm totally with you, Emily. I understand what you're saying. Josh, moving on to you. Same deal. In closing out here, same wrinkle, same question.
In regards to payback, I mean, I'm completely against that, but I don't have any real big of a problem with like rubbing fenders. I mean, that's gonna happen. I mean, especially with whatever type of car you drive, that kind of thing is going to happen. But I do believe there's a certain line over that to say, to show a different driver that you're there. I mean, don't just wreck them to wreck them.
Totally understand. Totally with you.
Well,
RJ, your
think,
turn, buddy.
Rubbing is rubbing, and I hate to bring this up, but I've been always an open wheel fan. The reason is because when you rub somebody in an open wheel car, you personally could be the one spending sheet time.
About 90% of the time, that's
so
why it's going to end up in open wheel.
You may nerf somebody, but you're not going to take somebody out like you do in the NASCAR event. I kind of feel sorry for Danica Patrick because she's just like Tony Stewart when he came in. I mean, I watched on the nationwide races, and I don't think he made it through a single race the whole season without somebody tagging him somewhere. I just think that's the way the NASCAR series and what won this past weekend was probably too much, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens down the road. I mean, it was good for rates, so unfortunately, I'm beginning to side with some people. The whole ratings, but that's just me.
Gotcha. All right, Brad, you're the last up on this. We're going to close this question out. So, give us what you got to say.
I think there's a time and a place for. I mean, let's face it. I mean, once you stick that helmet on, we all become quote unquote aggressive drivers. I think there's a time and a place for it. If it's lap 5 of a 20-lap feature and some guy dive bombs you at the inside and absolutely door slams you and moves you up a lane, was it uncalled for? Yeah, probably. If he pulls the same move going for the win, dive bombs you going to 3, my guy's going for the win. If we're banging doors going down the straightaway, and like I said, I just think there's a time and a place for it. But there is like a razor's edge, fine line between aggression and rage.
I totally agree with that, and I think we've all touched on that. I totally agree with that. All right, moving on. I've got a lot of things on my mind right now. You guys brought up some good points. I want to get away from this, that so much. And question 6 here. We got 2 more questions to go here, guys. So we're getting there. This has been an awesome discussion. I really like the information that's come out of it so far. Question number 6, and I believe, Emily, we're back to you first up to answer this. In your opinion, we're going to continue with what we were just talking about, the topic from last Sunday. But in your opinion, was that good for the sport of racing as a whole or not,
there were some parts
and why?
that I didn't agree with. Of course, the blatantly crashing somebody on the track. It does draw more attention to the sport. Is it good attention? I don't know. I believe that the fans would get a better kick out of watching somebody fist fight on the front stretch than somebody crashing somebody on the front stretch during the race. I guess they say that no publicity is bad publicity, but sooner or later, well, we've already been called rednecks. Yeah, I mean, as a whole, it probably got a lot of attention. I know it did, but was it good attention? Maybe. That's about all I have about it.
All right, we'll move on. Josh, same to you. Your opinion, was it good for the sport of racing as a whole or not, and why do you have that opinion?
Really, in my opinion, I don't really know if it was good for the sport because, I mean, it's never good when you have 2 of your drivers trying to kill each other on the track or off the track. So I'm basically on the same lines as Emily. I mean, publicity is good, but I don't know if that kind of publicity is the publicity you want.
Gotcha.
RJ,
on to you, buddy.
Ratings are going to go up and more watchers are watching.
All righty. Nice and simple and to the point. Brad.
I don't know. I have a whole mixed bag on this. Unfortunately, you still go heads that go to the races to watch the accidents. And I don't know why they get a kick out of that. It's like going to a hockey game to watch the fight. It's not about the sport. It's about what's going to happen. I mean,
let me add a little wrinkle to you, Brad. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I want to add a little wrinkle to what you just said. People, have this. They go to see the wrecks. Do you think the promotion of racing, the way it's promoted on TV, commercials, advertisements, but that's the reason
I think the media gets a hold of
expect that.
Of what? Okay, so the media is like what happened between Clint Boyer and Jeff Gordon last week, and they're going to carry it over in Homestead this weekend. And the first hour, that's all they're going to talk about. And they just like the media just they know. Unfortunately, they thrive on the weekend. I don't know if that's the right term or not, but they know that people like the controversy, like the conflict, and if they can get their attention, that's what they're going to focus on. And I don't know if that answers your question or not, but yeah, that's.
Well, do you think? I guess to finish it up, do you think it was good or bad for the sport?
On a whole, I don't know. Stuff like that is detrimental, but like you say, publicity is publicity, and if they attract more viewers, then I guess it was a sport.
Gotcha. All right, Phil.
You're
up,
what happened
buddy.
with Jeff Gordon and Clint good for racing? No. Was it good for 5-Hour Energy since they have enough B-roll to make a brand new commercial for next year? Yes. Was it good for the kind of people that love to watch the nonsense and the fighting and the circus atmosphere, kind of like what Gossett was promoting last week at Texas or 2 weeks ago at Texas, and some of this like the shock media type thing that is out there with some of the people? I guess it was because it gives them content to write. For a racing fan, for me, that and then the way that the last caution was handled and then letting them drive all through the oil and wrecking about 5 or 6 more race cars. NASCAR loved it, and that's really what the problem is. They'd rather have circus and have nonsense than have real racing. And that's I don't believe it was good. I believe Clint is going to get plenty of energy out of that, or his sponsor is, and then Phoenix is going to, because I can already think about what's going to be on their ad for their race in February.
Gotcha. Totally understand. All right, and follow up to that, I want to add a new wrinkle to it. RJ, I want to get you to talk about this one way or another, my man. New wrinkle added that. A lot of the social media, a lot of people were saying, thinking back to 79 and Allison and Yarborough and the fight that happened, and what happened Sunday was not even directly remotely the same as what happened in 79. But in my opinion, I think that's a big problem, that people think that's how racing started and how it was founded, being as that was the first telecast. So in that sense, people find that it's all right.
Well,
do you have an opinion on that?
I personally do not like to see any kind of bodily fisticuffs or anything like that. I see everything on the racetrack. That's just me. There's many fans out there that are blood and guts, and there's many fans out there that go there just to party. And I'm one. And unfortunately, we have all of them.
Has to be all inclusive. Yes,
draw a line
I got
as to who's going to be watching. And the last part of the year, I myself used to bet on the field, so I'd watch the NFL too, back and forth. So I can catch exactly what went on beforehand. I don't see Jeff Gordon playing somebody in the wall unless they've been going at it all race long. And you're at the track.
Right.
This is another thing. I was telling everybody, set the TV on, go to the races, then watch the races track. Then you can, you can look over and over and over again. But unfortunately, the television or the TV crew, no matter how good they are, they're not going to catch all that stuff that we see when we're at the racetrack. You don't see on TV 10% of what actually goes on at the track. You only.
I
I'm
so
not
agree
defending
with that.
Jeff Gordon
so
or anybody else, but I'm just saying that there had to be a lot more going on than what you and I and everybody else saw.
I'm with that. Brad, moving on to you. You're going to close this question out. Same deal to you.
Yeah, you know what? I completely agree with what. I apologize. I forget the fellow's name who just was talking, but RJ. Yeah, I agree 100%.
RJ.
I couldn't. Yeah, 100% agree with that. I don't have anything to add.
All right, I got you. I understand totally. To kind of clarify, if this is what you're trying to kind of sum it up a little bit. I think there's a difference between what we have, a fundamental difference between what we as drivers and racers, even if we've not been at that big league, but we all know that the same types of things happen on the track. The situations are pretty much identical. The speed's just different. But there's things that go on the track during a race that the common fan, you know, or the casual fan or TV doesn't see, that creates situations. But I'm going to stick with my opinion on this one, guys. Right or wrong, there's no place for it, and it was uncalled for, and penalties didn't match. That's a whole nother topic and discussion as far as penalties and precedents and things. So, but we're not even going to get into that tonight. All right, 2 more segments and we're done. 1 question and then little contact information for each of you. Here's the last question. Josh, you're first up on this question, and here we go. Question number 7. What are you looking forward to in 2013 at the grassroots racing level?
Looking forward to is just to see where it goes. I mean, everything gets bigger or smaller, so the way I sort of looked at it is, does grassroots racing realize it needs to promote itself better and goes that direction, or does it realize that it's not doing so well and is going to fade away? That's what I do fear.
Gotcha. RJ, same question to you. What are you looking forward to in the 2013 racing season at the grassroots level?
With my new lady, Lillian, who's a seamstress and can fix driver suits and enjoy racing instead of going by myself. The only problem I have is that she's not going to let me eat what I want. She's Philippines is making me not eat salt and, you know, cheese and, you know, how can you do that at a racetrack?
Buddy, I'm right there with you, man. Anybody that's paid attention to my Facebook page knows that this something's been going on with me for 2 months. This food and medicine, and maybe that's why I'm one miserable son of a bitch here lately. Anyway,
I just look forward to seeing a lot of tracks I've not seen for a while, and a lot of new drivers and a lot of new faces. And I'm just hoping that I can convince a lot of the drivers to send the press releases. I don't want just the big-time press releases. I want the grassroots level press releases. Let's spread the word about how powerful you guys are, not just what you do, but the American economy.
Gotcha.